name is Anne Grace, and today I will be presenting on Chapter 11 in Philip Johnson's book, The Practice Revolution, entitled Making the Piece Their Own. In this presentation, we will begin by talking a little bit about the purpose of making the piece our own, and then we will work our way through the chapter using an actual hands-on example to help us connect with all the ideas he discusses. And then finally, I will end with an actual piece of music that I felt that I was able to make my own and how I used these various methods in getting there. So this chapter, Making the Piece Their Own, is talking about that stage in the music of learning a piece of music, rather, where you know the notes and the rhythms and the fundamentals of the music and are now trying to get it ready for performance. You're starting to think about the audience and what you want to convey to them through your music. We call this chapter Making the Piece Our Own, but really we strive to own our music so that we can effectively communicate it to others. And I believe that music is communication, which means that it is about relationships and many layers of relationships. Relationship with the instrument, with the composer, with the story behind the music, with ourselves as musicians and our stories, with our other people in our lives, and with those that we're playing the music for, as well as with God. And like any relationship, it is possible to communicate well, and it is possible to communicate badly. And so in other words, learning how to communicate well is basically what we're talking about today. We all know that if someone has perfect technical playing, but doesn't add anything to it, the music will feel dull and soulless, like Hanon's etudes can be. As promised here, I will give an example or an illustration of what this looks like in real life. Here's a page from a children's book, which we are going to learn how to interpret and make our own. So this is what it sounds like if I read it perfectly, but in the kind of drab monotone way. Hurry, hurry, hurry. The firemen jumped onto the fire engines and onto their hook and ladders. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Everyone out of the way. Hurry, hurry, hurry. I got all the words right, but still it didn't grab you. And no kid will be interested in that either. So this leads us to the first section in Johnson's book, score trawling. Basically what that means is that we start by focusing on what is already there in the music and using it. Johnson suggests that you could do this by doing an in-depth analysis of the piece and just in terms of dynamics, articulations, and such, using different colors and shapes to bring that come out of the page. Some of you have done conducting score marking, which is a form that you could use, a method you could use for this. The idea is that this exercise will help you to recognize and remember to follow all these directions in the moment while you're playing. Another benefit is that it will help you to find patterns and see the big picture of the music, the geography, if you will, as he says. Having this kind of picture or map in your mind will both help the music to make sense to you, and it will also help you memorize. So let's do some score trawling on our story excerpt here. Looking at it, we see that the top line is bigger than the rest. Let's say that means it should be louder. Then the punctuation marks tell us when to pause in reading, and then the exclamation marks indicate an excited, detached dynamic. Let's try this out loud. Hurry, hurry, hurry! The firemen jumped onto their hook and ladders, into their fire engines and onto the hook and ladders. Ding dong, ding dong, everyone out of the way. Hurry, hurry, hurry. I mean, already that was more interesting than before. But Johnson would say we're still missing something, which is why his next section, he has another section which is called experimenting. Now, what do we do when we have the absence of clear directions? What if the composer doesn't tell us what to do? How are we going to decide? You may have noticed this happens a lot in your Baroque repertoire and early classical. You have very few markings, if any. And we know based on our first reading of that example that just saying, I'm going to do nothing with the piece because there's no dynamics is probably not a good answer. So, what should we do? As Johnson's answer so often is, let's make a game of it. Shall we try it? First, we make a list of all the possible details that we are interviewing for potential components of this score in this competition. Crescendo, decrescendo, rubato, metronomic, tenuto, legato, ritardando, accelerando, piano, mezzo forte, forte, fortissimo, the list could go on. Lots of options here. So let's experiment with a few in our story, just on the first line. Instead of saying these three words all the same, even though that's how they look, let's try, I'm going to try experimenting first with a crescendo. See if that works. Hurry, hurry, hurry! That kind of felt pretty good. But let's try the decrescendo just in case. Hurry, hurry, hurry. No, I don't feel like that really works. What about a ritardando? Hurry, hurry, hurry! Kind of loses the momentum. Maybe a slight accelerando would do the trick. Hurry, hurry, hurry! Oh, that's feeling it. Now, why don't we look at dynamic? I've been doing it pretty much at forte, fortissimo, but maybe piano is the right thing. Let's experiment. Hurry, hurry, hurry. No, I think my gut was right. Definitely a forte. So our final product then is hurry, hurry, hurry. Well, that's definitely getting somewhere. As Johnston remarks, by doing this, we are reminding a student that how they play the notes can completely transform a piece, and that the most exciting part of the world of music lies well beyond which note or word is next. So, something to remember. And now we come to the final section of music, writing the script. Here's where our imagination and storytelling get to really come into play. This is where everything comes together in big picture. When you answer questions like, why is this part louder? And if it is louder, how does it connect with what comes before and what comes after? And why does that forte make sense? And beyond this, what does that forte mean to me? What am I trying to express with the forte? What am I trying to convey in this section of music? Is it joy, triumph, despair, hope? And how does that fit with all my answers to all these questions for the section right before and right after? Are you following? The point of these questions is to illustrate the fact that whatever events we map into our story must reflect the actual musical changes if they're going to feel authentic. We're using synergy between our musical knowledge and our imagination to bring the story that best describes the piece of music for us. Pedagogically, because I've been speaking in terms of your own music, but I'm expecting you can apply this equally well to teaching with your students, giving the student the opportunity to tell you his or her own story for a particular piece allows you to understand where the student is coming from, how they understand the music, and why they are playing it the way they are. If there's something you want to change, this will give you a key or a way into how that will look for the student. In Johnston's words, if you want to reshape the outward appearance of the piece, the best place to start is with the students in your picture. Let's apply this concept to our example. Like a standalone piece of music, we don't really know the context to this page. The most obvious story to connect it with is a fire emergency somewhere, based on the words in the picture. But maybe someone else interprets it that grandma's cat got stuck in the tree and the firemen are going to rescue it. That would also work. But there are also interpretations that would not work, such as the firemen are driving home for dinner, unless they're really hungry, or that this is a parade. Neither of those stories fit really well with the picture, with what we have found out from our score trawling and experimenting. So this is where it all comes together. If I'm imagining, or you are imagining, that you are a fireman and trying to come to the rescue, if you're putting yourself in this story and living it, you won't have to think. Crescendo on the repeated hurries, slight acceleration in the last three lines, legato texture on the second phrase. You will do all that naturally because you are the fireman responding to an emergency, and that is what you would do, and that is what you would say. Let me show you. Hurry, hurry, hurry! The firemen jumped onto the fire engines and onto the hook and ladders. Ding dong, everyone out of the way! Hurry, hurry, hurry! Now, I produced the same result with one story or image as I would have with 100 instructions, and it was way more fun and interesting for both of us. So, now lest you be saying, well, isn't that all nice? But that example wasn't actually a piece of music. Piano music is harder. It has no words. Stories are not so obvious. granted, you have very little words to work with, except maybe if your piece has an interesting title. But this is where you start to really bring yourself, your stories, your passions, what matters to you into the music. You don't have to tell a love story like the singers always do. But because it is worthwhile to look at music in this context, I'm going to walk you through a piece that I played last year in this context. For the longest time, I was finding it very hard to connect with this piece of music and being able to say something with it. I kept working and practicing, playing, thinking, journaling, and then one evening, after a helpful master class with Jenny Regier, where I had been greatly helped with the more technical side of the piece, and then after a conversation with a friend of what kind of mood the piece was in and what we felt about it, things started falling into place. We had kind of landed on that the piece was joyful. And what is the most joyful event that I could imagine? For me, this would be Pascha, or Easter as you would know it, the celebration of Christ's resurrection. And so then it was a question of how can I share what brings me the most joy so that the audience can, and convey that to the audience so that they can also feel this joy. And so I'm just going to walk you through the story that I have in my music here. I hope you can see it. Let's see. So the first section we have is about 1 page long, and it starts out with this brilliant theme which gets played around with throughout the piece. And for me, this was the message that the angels first explained to the women, saying, "Behold, he is not here, he is risen." And then this section repeats. Oh, because then the angels tell the women, "You seek Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. Come see the place where they laid him. And then go on your way and tell the disciples." And then the section repeats, and the women repeat the same message to the disciples. "He is not here, he is risen." And then at the end of that section, the key changes, and we come into the story with Peter, who ran and saw and wondered. And as the music crescendos to, I'm really sorry, I don't know if you can see this. Is that better? As the music crescendos to the first climax, big climax of the piece, we embody the great earthquake, the angel and the stones rolling away from the tomb, as we proclaim Christ is risen. And with this victorious theme, I use some words from the Gospel of John, where Jesus is saying, "All power is given me. I have triumphed." And then the music suddenly decrescendos as people are faced with this. And doubting Thomas says, "I will not believe." And Jesus says to him, "Put your hands in my nail prints. Touch my side. Believe." And as that pedal point resolves, we hear Thomas saying, "My Lord and my God," as he finally realizes that Christ is risen. And then we have a little bit of sequence here, playing around with the theme, where I use the part of the gospel where it says, "Many other signs Jesus did and manifested his glory, but these are written that you may believe." But then there's another person in the story who needs to come to believe that Jesus is risen. It's Mary Magdalene, and she is in a very dark place right now with this G minor pedal point on D and kind of tension here. But out of this tension, when it resolves, we hear a lyrical melody come out. Jesus comes to Mary Magdalene and asks her, "Woman, why weepest thou?" And she replies, "Because they have taken away my Lord, and I don't know where they have laid him." And then, as that section goes into the next, an F pedal point with a new melody up at the top, he says to her, "Mary." And she recognizes him. And he continues, "I ascend to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." And Mary Magdalene comes out as we prepare for the theme again, and she tells the disciples that she had seen the Lord, and the first theme returns in the original key as she repeats this joyous message and tells that Jesus had spoken these things to her. And then on the last page, as the climax returns once again, even more than before, I couldn't think of anything better to write than the Paschal hymn we sing, which goes, "Christ is risen from the dead, trampling down death by death, and upon those in the tombs bestowing life." And the last two lines are just that, pure life. And So that is, and those connections just totally changed the piece of music for me, because now it meant something to me. It meant a lot to me. And then I felt like I could help it to mean something to others as well. If you want to hear that story being played in actual music, now that you've seen the whole score, you can go to the YouTube link of me playing it last Easter weekend, which I'll attach at the end, and you can check that out. So, in conclusion, I hope that this presentation has been helpful and that you will be able to take something from it to use in your own playing and teaching. In my friend's words, who is sitting here listening to me, hurry, 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 go forth and make music. Thank you.